You're all set.
Oh, okay. Who's that? Lalo? Okay. I'm just gonna play for a minute. Hi, Angel. Jose. Okay, so you guys did get on. Lalo Perez. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm just gonna play a little bit. Glad to see you guys. I'm gonna do something here. Share the screen. I'm gonna start it up with a little PowerPoint as usual. Let's see. Chris, I need to do some sharing, screen sharing. I think I'm disabled. Okay, here we go. Very good. Okay, in 1 second. Okay, here we go. So today we're going to talk about cowbells. That's the topic, and you know, the teacher and me always tells me that when I use certain terminology or vocabulary, I have to assume that some of the listeners don't know what 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 the terms that I might be talking about. So, having said that, what is a cowbell? Some people, a non-musician might think it's just something else. So here we are. A cowbell is a bell worn around the neck of a, like a cow or a herd, roaming livestock, so herders can keep track of the animals when they're out in the field. And people say cowbells because usually it's the cow that's wearing, the bell, but it could also be a horse, it could be a goat, a reindeer, a sheep, yeah. And it originated in Europe, and it's used, and also the Mediterranean areas and Latino America, and of course the United States. So you see that cow right there, it's got that leather strap, and then it's got that cowbell right there, and it looks like a nice bell. I think after we finish here, I'm gonna go look for that cow and take its bell. So that's a cow right there with a cowbell. So back in the day, we couldn't exactly go to the store and just buy cowbells. It was impossible because they were not available. They were not made for musicians. So back in 2000, I asked Monchito Munoz where he got his cowbells. So this is what he told me, and I'll read what it says. Where it says at the bottom, those bells were not manufactured bells. They were bells that were actually used on cowbells. When we got them, they even had the 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 beater inside that makes them, go ting ting ting. They were very hard to get. Manuel Kendo and I used to follow these horse carts in El Barrio that used to pick up, trash and newspapers. They would always have two or three bells. If it was a big bell, we would, try and buy it. If the person wouldn't sell it, we would grab it and run away. So that was his way of getting bells back in the day. And he says that those bells are not loud enough for today's music. It's not there, but because back then they used to play very acoustically most of the time. I asked the same questions to Walfredo de los Reyes Sr. back in 2015 for an interview that I did, which hasn't been published. So I asked him, where did you guys get your bells? So he told me that the cowbells were made from the fenders of cars. People would cut a piece of the fender to make the bells. The cars then were made of metal, not plastic. So when the cars were junked after an accident or so, guys that make congas bells that would cut a piece of the fender, flatten it out, and make the bells. Of course, you had to know how to work with the metal. So a lot of people that would take it to somebody who would work with iron. And here's a little story that I saw, not story, but something that Mario Grillo said on one of the Facebook pages. He said that Ubaldo Nieto, the timbale player that used to play with Machito back in the days, he actually chased a cow for about a mile to take the bell off. He then took it to a garage to have it reshaped and welded. So uh, that's how people got their bells. And also, there's a book out called New York and the International Son of Latin Music, 1940 through 1990, by Benjamin Lapidus. And he mentions that Pacheco used to make his own bells. But I think he used to take them to somebody. Again, he would get the metal and just, you know, uh, have them made. Uh, Before I start getting into the bells themselves, the early cowbell manufacturers, of course, I'm sure there were many more, but this is what I was able to put down today. The Liri company had bells, but I don't know if they actually made them. I saw a couple of them in their catalog, but whether they made them themselves or had them, brought in by some other place, that's a different story. So I'm not sure about that. Ludwig had around 62 for the first time because I have some of those. I have a collection of their catalogs, and for the first time I saw 1962, and they had what they had bells from Switzerland, so they were Swiss bells. In 1964, they they came out with what was called the Golden Tone Cowbell. Now I have a couple of those, so I'll show them to you in a couple of minutes. Martin Cohen, the LP Percussion Company, he started around 63, possibly 64, I'm not sure, but that's when he came out with his Black Beauty cowbell and so forth. The Rogers catalog, uh, I do have one catalog from 1967, and he actually had they had the Zildjian Zill bill. So that was like 1960s, but it was not made by Rogers. They were just selling them. Uh, Jopa, Joe da Diego from Brooklyn, 1977, started making bells. And I used to have a couple of those, but I don't know what happened to them. I'm talking about back in 1978 when I bought a collection of bells. So he was making bells by the 70s. Of course, Calito Cali Rivera for JCR, renowned, made bells up until a couple of years ago when he passed away. And then we have the Colombian bells, which are more recent, like 80s. Colombia Percussion, Jorge Percussion. I spoke to him today. He started making bells in 1986. So that's a little. Okay, here's a couple of pictures. The first picture on the upper left-hand corner, those are Lady bells. Whether they made them or not, I don't know. The one to the right, upper left corner, that says Ludwig, but it says Swiss. So that means that we're getting them from Switzerland. And there's a photo of the Jopa bells from 1978, 1980s. And the last picture at the bottom, those are Jorge Percussion, but by Jorge Silva. And I'm gonna get out of this screen here, and just to plug in the other playing timbales, you can always buy that book at Amazon.com. And okay, okay, all right. Can you see me? I'm gonna start by just going through the bells. As I said, the bells used to or wear. They have a leather strap, and you have the clapper. So this is a real cowbell. All right. So I'm gonna start. I don't know if I'll have time to play all of them, but here's another one. Now I have no idea where I got this one or who made it. It's it's kind of unique, and I always say that cowbells have a personality, like just like we. I'm Victor. You're Jose. You're Angel. There's no other one. You're the only angel in the world. You're the only Jose. I'm the only Victor. There might be somebody in the world that sort of looks like us, but you're still your person, right? Same thing with bells. So this is the only bell like this in the whole world. That's the way I see it. So they have a character. So this one, to me, I call it like a tubby sound. Tubby sound, right? If I play it open, it sounds like that. Or if I press, that's a nice sound. I never used it for anything, but it's a beautiful bell. It's very unique. Now this one, let me see. One of these, Johnny Almendra gave me these. One of these, he told me that he used it on one of the tunes from this album called Revento, Hector Lavoe, but I don't know which one. But they look funky as they look very funky. Not very good looking, right? But listen to the sound. It's a beautiful sound. That's playing open. Now I'm going to play close. Okay? So that's again, these are cowbells because there's a little hook in the, towards the back. There's a little hook where they took out the clapper. So here's the other one. And I'm sure this sounds different. A little higher. All right? Here's another one. Now, this is also a cowbell. It's got that little hook in the middle. This sort of looks like a Swiss bell, but I don't know for sure. Doesn't have a company or anything. This one sounds totally different. This one sounds a little scrappy. Okay? But again, it's unique. If that's the sound you want to hear for a recording session or something, and you hear that sound in your mind, that's the bell you take to the recording session. Here's another one. Wow, these, and it doesn't have the hook, but I can tell that it was there because there's a little hole at the end. So this is a real cowbell. And let's see, and this is a slightly bigger bell, right? So this will work as a Mambo Bell. If I press, Okay, that's another beautiful bell. One other sort of has this one sort of has the same handle shape, the same you know top, and it's open, so it's the same style except that it's chrome plated. And Johnny Almendra also gave me this bell. Now he told me that Mario Munoz, the pailita player with La Sonora Matancera, gave him this. So whether he used it in the gigs or recording that, I wouldn't know. But this is another one, and sounds different. Pressing. And I'm gonna come back to this bell because if you see the edges, it's similar to one of the LP bells today. But I'll come back to it. Ooh, okay. This is a Zill bell that I mentioned, made from Zill. These are not hard to get, but they're always on eBay. But they're a little expensive because everybody wants them. So I managed to get this one for not too much money. So this is that's a nice ring. Sounds a little muted when I press on it, but it will work for some things. So it's a little small, but it's still a beautiful sound. Oh yes, I mentioned these are the Ludwig Pure Tones from the 1960s, and I remember seeing these in catalogs when I was a kid. And this is Ludwig from 1960. If I press it, all right. So that's Ludwig. Here's a JCR that I got at JCR in the Bronx, probably 1981, maybe 1982 at the latest. And as you can see, I had to put the clamp on. Later on, he had clamps on them, but I actually had to put that hook there. I'll play it open first. If I press, it's nice because it doesn't matter whether I play it open or close. I still get a nice ding, right? You hear it? Yeah, I'm going to open now. You still get that tone. So that's the beauty of, Gali bells. Last but not least, this is going up to, today. That's why I left it towards the end. This is an LP bell. This is the Salsa Series ES12. This is what I use now on my playing. And this is... I'm pressing right now. You still get a nice pure tone. If I play it open, by open I mean I'm bouncing the stick. You get a nice pure tone. If you press on it, you still get a nice tone. Going through all these bills, I'm realizing the qualities of all these bills. So that's basically the cha-cha bells that I have. Now moving on, I actually did play a Mambo Bell, which is this. Now, I was talking about this bell. See the welding and I don't know what you would call it. Looks like little bolts on the side. See, this bell is this is the Tito Puente Prestige model from LP, and I love this bell. And it's got the same design if you look at it. See, it's got that square top. Of course, it's got the the handle without having to put the clamp, and it's got those buttons on the side. So I'm gonna play this one. It's got that vintage sound. If I press, like Puente, and you got that sound. I like this bell because it's got a lower tone. Uh, I come, from a jazz background, so like in big band, when you have cymbals, and I always talk about Mel Lewis, and he always used to say, if you have the trumpets playing up in that high register, ding ding, you don't want to hear cymbals playing the same pitch as ding ding up there, or cymbal crashes, or even rides, because you're actually canceling their sound. So he used to use cymbals that had a lower tone. So I approach it the same way with my big band on the cowbells. I go for lower sounding cowbells. I don't use high pitch. Like I wouldn't want to use something like this against 15 horns or so. So this is the Tito Puente model. Oop. This is a JCR that I got. Must have been 1981 or 82. I went to the Bronx, Ogden Avenue to Cali, and I told them, I want a bell, like it's gotta be square at the top, and it's gotta have at least 2 or 3 inches here in the mouth, and I want it to be like so long or so. So he says, okay. He takes out like a sheet of metal on the wall, and he gets whatever he was, he bends it, starts hitting it, and he says, "Okay, look away, because I'm gonna weld it now." And then he made it. He made it right there in front of my eyes. So this is a Cali River, and it's got that low quality that I like. A little higher though. But the sound is very controlled. It doesn't ring all over the place. And that's my preference, to have a bell that's the sound is not spreading. It doesn't sound too wet. In other words, that's a dry sound. So it complements the band very well. I have many, but I'm just gonna do a couple of more. Here's another JCR, and this one also has, I believe, a little higher, but it's still dry. See, the sound is very controlled. Now, Kali made these towards the end of his career, the last 10 years or so, and these are flat, I guess they call them flat bells. And this one I like this bell for special effects. I think I used it with the band once, and it was fine. But it's got character. You see, it's like a person. This one is it's a chocante bell. It's a braggart. It's a bad boy. So I used it in a recording session, and I did this. On Generoso, I think. See, so I wanted that sound, and I'm not gonna say the name, but the engineer just right away came into the booth and said, "You gotta do something about that bell, because it just doesn't sound right." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. That's the sound that I want. That every bell has its character, and that's the character that I wanted for that tune, for that one break. And that's the only time that I used that bell, and for that whole album." I'm gonna leave the Mambo Bells because we got started a little late, so we're gonna have to leave soon. I'm just gonna mention these real quick. These are the LP, and these are good because they have a nice deep sound. This is like the Oye Como Va sound. Oye Como Va. Santana. So these are great for that type of sound. This one has the same sound, except that it's more straight. The other one's more wide open, and I prefer this one because it's easier on the angles. Oh, anyway, that's a nice deep sound. So that's a beautiful sound. Bells, handbells. JCR, looks like an old one. Very high. This one is from Pakistan. Now, this one's a little small, but it's still a good sound for like you're playing in a small club or a restaurant. Actually, it's a nice low sound. It's very nice. This is a JCR. Now, this has a small mouth. Different character. This is a Jorge Percussion. Okay. And we've used this one with the band. And this has a nice low sound, which again, I like low sounds because they contrast with the horns. You have, 15 horns. You don't want a high-pitched high-pitched cowbell going with it. You want to contrast it with a low sound. Nice sound. This is, it just says Cali, Colombia. I don't know who makes this. Might be Jorge, I'm not sure. That's a high sound. Now, a lot of salsa bands use this type of sound. This is fine if that's what you want. This bell was used in El Generoso on the last Bronx Connection CD. This belonged to Johnny Rodriguez, and he came in to do a couple of tracks, and this is the bell he used. See how it's got a nice low sound, and Yasuyo fell in love with the bell, and she was like, oh, the bell, the bell. So he was already, I think, going to get rid of the bell because it's cracked. So he was concerned that it would be buzzing, but it didn't because we put some tape on it. So he gave this bell to Yasuyo, and we treasure it. Well, she treasures it. So this is a nice bell. It's a CP. That's a Colombia, made in Colombia. So it's a CP. All right. And this is a salsa series. And this is the, I don't see a number here, but it's an LP. So. All right, that's a nice sound too. And I think I went through most of them. This is not a cowbell for timbales, but this is an African bell. I just wanted to show you this. It's got a special name. I think it's an agogo. I'm not sure what it's called. That's a nice sound. I used this one actually for Afro Blue on my percussion CD called Fiesta Percusiva. And what I did is I think I took, if I remember correctly, I took like a small stick. This is a metal stick, and I played it this way. See, I wanted that sound. It's got a very nice tone to it. This is I picked up this in Japan, but I don't think it's Japanese. It looks more like African, and I've never used it, but it's another sound. Okay, and I think I went through. I have like 40 bells here, but I think I've gone through just about everything because I want to open it up for questions and answers. Because I asked Lalo to bring his bell because when I was a kid, my first drum teacher used to have this cowbell that was about, what is that, like 10 inches or so, and it was long, chrome plated, and it looked like the piece of a muffler. And I've seen those bells here and there, over the years, and they're like from Mexico. I don't even know if they still make them, but I've never been able to get one. So Lalo said he has one. Do you have it with you, Lalo? You can unmute yourselves if you can, or Chris, can you unmute everybody? Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah, they should be able to unmute.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Anybody? Mike, how you doing, Mike?
Good. Thanks, Vic. Good presentation.
Thank you. Lalo, you
What,
still
what,
with us? I hear a bell. Oh, that's you. Okay, what do you have there, Eddie?
I'm not sure. I had it for a long, long time though. It's just a small. I think it's a chop-bell. Some people told me they go on the timbales and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Some,
but does it have like an emblem? Like do you have any idea who made it? Nothing like that.
nah, nah, nah.
Uh,
It's probably from my music teaching days in elementary school.
okay.
So I probably picked it up no, probably before. This is from the elementary school days.
Yeah.
This little one, which is and this I used to use when I used to do like the smooth jazz gigs that I used to do, the Latin jazz gigs. I didn't want a big sound on the cowbell, but I still wanted to keep a rhythm on when the percussionist would take a solo.
Yeah. Play a little like quarter note go. Let's see what it sounds like.
With the little one,
Yeah.
I put tape on it also.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good, 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 good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
You never know. Hold on to it. It might be vintage. If you had it for a while.
no, this one I haven't had. Well, I had it when I was music teaching, which is about maybe when I first started getting these little bells for the students like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I retired in '06, but this
yeah,
is what I used to use to bring to the class and show them different rhythms.
yeah, yeah.
So
You
but
know, I like I said, like I posted like a photo of I think most of the bills that I have, and I used to have more, like at least 20 more. But when I was young, uh, your values change as you get older, and you hear things differently. And if I didn't like a bell, I would either give it away or throw it away. Like I used to have a collection, and I even JCR bells, I bought them, and for some reason I took them to the gig and I didn't like them. And when you're young, you don't think about 20 years later that those are going to become collector's items.
yeah, I
So
had an old giant cowbell like that, and I got rid of. I don't know how I lost it, but I did. That's what
yeah,
I when I in the '70s I used to jam in the park with it, and that's my first jamming instrument. And with when the guys, the percussionists, used to jam and stuff outside in the
was
parks and the corners and stuff like that. That was the first instrument I took out
okay.
was the cowbell, and then I got into a little recorder, a little wooden recorder, and then I got into the flute. So that was, but
Yeah.
that's when Mike just told me that you were doing a cowbell session. I says, all right, let me go and remind me of the good old days, going back. Yeah.
I got a question. Hey, Victor. Hi, everyone.
Hey, what's up,
Hi.
Mike?
Mike here. This is my this is my cowbell. Bobby Allende gave me this. I just kind of like the dry sound of it. That modern. Well, then it was modern. That was, I guess, in the '90s. You had that bing, bing, which I didn't care for. So I expressed that to Bobby Allende, and he gave me this one, which is a dry. It has what used to be a label here, but I don't know what it is. I have a question. You may have answered it. I came on a little late. This is considered a sincero. Do you know where that name came from? Why it might be called a sincero? Victor, you're muted.
Oh. Can you hear me, Mike?
I hear Eddie. I can't hear. Yes, Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, something happened and you guys froze, and then I was thrown offline for a minute. So you were playing or something? You were saying something about a bell?
Yeah, I was saying that Bobby Allende gave me this bell, and in the '90s when the fad was to have that sharp bing 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 bell, which I didn't care for. So I told him I like that dry low sound, and he gave me this one, and I've had it, and it used to have a label here, but I'm not sure what type of bell it is, but there's no handle. It's pretty solidly made, and I just love the sound of this bell. And my question was where the word sincero came from. Do you happen to know?
No, I'm going to look it up. That's a good question. I've always just taken from it. So instead of like wataka.
Yeah.
What does a wataka mean? Or, I don't know, because I was going to demonstrate, a bembel bell, which isn't that, I don't want to be running around the room. I forgot it, but it's just basically a whole blade and it's called wataka. But why is it called wataka? I was thinking about that. I really don't know. Wataka also means to play by ear, but again, that's that looks like a JCR. What you have?
Okay. If you are familiar where they put their label on, I mean, like I said, it's faded. I don't know what it is, but
usually he would stamp it with JCR, and in the early '80s. Let me see. In the early '80s, this one's stamped.
Where?
Yeah. So if it's not stamped, maybe it's not a JCR, but it looks like a JCR from here.
Okay.
Let me look over here one more time.
Here.
You see, it looks like this one, right?
Yeah, it does. Right. Yes.
Yeah. This is a JCR.
It has some, as you can see, some rubber things here, I guess.
That was a trademark. Yeah, he used to do that.
Okay, so to mute the sound, although I see some of them have come off.
Yeah.
That's to stop that ringing, you know?
Yeah. I don't like to put tapes on the bills because, it mutes the sound. It's like buying, a drum and then putting a cloth over it, or like you're talking So if I don't like not that I don't like the bell, but if I don't care for that bell for my particular needs, I'll just get another one, or I'll try and control it with the stick myself, with the muting or unmuting. But
another quick question, Victor. Does the arrangement and the key of the arrangement of the tune determine what bell you're going to use?
Not to me. Not to me. Some people might say, like I just heard, I was talking to Angel Rosado yesterday. I don't know if I'm sure you know him. He used to go to the New Yorker and take photos.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he did an interview with somebody, and they were talking to Oreste Vilarto. And Oreste, I got to go and listen to the interview, which I didn't have time because he just told me last night. And he was talking about that the Guido and the handbell had to have like the same type of resonance or the same type of note or something. So that's good to, investigate. But I've never really paid attention. I just pay attention to whether it's high or low. Like you mentioned that it was and it still is sometimes. I hear in the radio, you hear that high key, which is fine if that's what you want. I don't care. I like that lower sound. But it's it's not right or wrong. It's just what you like. With our band, we've Yasuo, we tried different bells. Even sometimes the low with some arrangements it didn't quite gel, so we used like a medium in between medium. So it's becoming to the point that it depends on the tunes that we're playing also. Because too low might be too sluggish also. That's another way to see it. Lalo, you still there?
Show yourself.
Yes.
Do you have your bell?
I don't, man. I'm sorry. I couldn't bring him.
Okay.
I have him at the store, Victor. And it
Uh-huh.
was a lot of hassle. I didn't have time, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Lalo has a Mexican bell that I wanted him to show us, but
Yeah, man. Next time, maybe.
we're just gonna have to do it again next year, man. So,
Yeah, for sure.
how you do? How you doing, Eric?
Hola, Victor. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you sound like a Tex-Mex guy. You've been hanging out in Chicago too long.
It's cold here.
Eric plays with a Mexican group. What's the name of the group, Eric?
Sones de México.
Sones de Mexico. Like mariachi style, right?
Mexican son, not mariachi.
I know you send me emails all the time, so I gotta be more, careful attention. Yeah. So anyway, I went online yesterday and I Googled Mexican cowbell and I actually did find one. I don't know if it's from the 60s, but it looked kind of scratch and old, so I ordered it. I got it for about $50 or so. But it's like I described it. It's long, like 11. Actually, this one was like 11 inches, chrome plated. It looks like a piece of muffler. So, and it says low tone. So that's what you said, yours, right, Lalo?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm anxious to check that out. Now, if I get it, when I get it, it'll be unique. If I take it to the gigs, people will start asking, "Where's that bell from?" I'll say, "I'm from Mexico."
There you go.
Anyway, any other comments or questions? I'll look up that thing on Sincero, Mike.
Okay.
Any other?
I got a question. Can you hear me, Vic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does the acoustic of a venue or the weather is there any concern about that when using cowbells?
Not with the weather. I mean, the room. You don't want a real loud bell. That's gonna screech in your ear. That's why I said that I like bells that have a controlled sound. See, that's a control. So I can control that. Well, I can play as hard as I want, and it stays there. So it's gonna stay with the band. A bell, like let's see, this one has more spread. This is both LPs, but you see, this one has a more wet sound. It's still a control sound though, so it's good. But most of the time I prefer this type of sound only because it's a drier sound, and I think it complements the big band much better. The salseros like more of a ring, and actually I use this a lot because I get tired of when I get tired of cymbals I change them. When I get tired of bells I change them. Even with the timbales, I have like 20 sets. So when I get tired of one set after 6 months, I change to another one, or I might even buy another one in pair. But that's the way we are. So yes, the room. So if I want to play quietly, like when I go to rehearse with Mike in his basement, you don't want. I don't need that.
Neither do the neighbors.
I can control this. Yeah? I can swing with this, and if I play it louder, it's still good. So the acoustics of the room, make a big difference. Alrighty,
All right. Gotta go.
so it was short and sweet, and I'll be there in a minute, Mike, and
All right.
see you later, alligators. Ay te guacho cucaracho.
Take care, Victor.
Okay, man.
All right, good
I'll
day.
see you
Take
next
care.
Thanks for attending, guys.
Thanks, Victor.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, Victor.
Adios.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Lalo.
Thank you.